Thank you for joining. Let's get started on this Exium SASE certified sales professional training. So in this training, you will learn who Exium is. You will learn about our platform, the customer challenges we address, and how we differentiate from others, right? And this training is different from maybe the security trainings you get because SASE is different. I'll explain how. For example, the security products that generally, particularly in the SMB market and MSP, are like the EDR, like those are the next generation of antivirus. Everybody gets antivirus. And then maybe the firewall appliances you are selling. Yeah, people get what a firewall box is. And then VPN, most people get what VPN is, right? But how you sell zero trust? Zero trust is not even a thing, right? It's not a product, and it touches the users, the applications, it touches the network, and it touches not only the security but compliance and cyber insurance requirements and all those things. Like so, it's a lot more complex. SASE has been very successful in the large enterprise market, but it's still new to the MSPs and SMB. And we want to help our MSP partners to effectively sell SASE. Like so, this training is more about how you sell SASE, right? And this training also will carry over with you. Like even if you decide to deploy another SASE solution down the road, this training will be useful for you. Or you change job, you end up working with another MSP still, because this is the future. Like this is not the training for this quarter or the next quarter. This is training for you for the next decade, because that's where the cybersecurity is going. Like, and then we will cover more about Exium products and the pricing and quoting, like so in this session. So with me, I have Mike on the call, as you know. So Mike is going to do some of the money talk. Like when Mike is speaking, maybe for about 10 minutes, pay attention to what he's saying. So the Exium, we are consolidating security, unifying security, right? Because in the large enterprise, you can have huge IT teams, like they can manage the complexity of cybersecurity. But with the MSPs and SMB, you don't have those huge security teams. And then you need to simplify. I mean, you cannot deploy 15 different security controls. You need to consolidate. So this is based on the feedback from you, our MSP partners, that we started as SASE, but over time we have consolidated more of the security controls into a single platform. At the high level, Exium is now consolidating all the security infrastructure in terms of the security products. Maybe more than half of the vendors we will replace. Like you still need, we are doing more infrastructure security and not the application security. Like you still need email, like you spam protection, like you still need an email solution. You need a backup and disaster recovery. We don't do that. But a lot of the, like half of the security vendors and controls, we consolidate in this platform. That simplify the management and results in better margins and profitability for you. So this platform was built with the feedback from the MSPs. Like so, this Exium is about 6 years old, but 3 years ago we really started working closely with the MSPs, and this whole platform, this is crafted for the MSPs. It's not only consolidating half the security controls into a single platform, but it is also MSP friendly, because it's built for the MSPs and how you effectively manage your SMBs in this platform. Yeah, this is a little bit the timeline. SASE is still the core of what Exium does. But now, last year, we had a great success with replacing the edge firewall. And we'll talk more about that. So what happens if, for example, take an example, you were charging $15 per user for SASE, and now with the edge firewall replacement, you are addressing another big, like the money part. Now you can doubled your revenue per user to $30, for example. Then Exium is not stopping here. We have introduced more. We have the XDR SIEM. We have the IAM password manager, single sign-on MFA. You can do all the compliance in Exium's platform more. So this means you can upsell more. So down the road, your revenue may be $45 per user. Like so, there's a huge opportunity. And for you, it is a platform with the same single layer of management. You are now managing a lot of the security controls from this platform. So let's double click on what this platform is. At the center is a cyber mesh. So these are the nodes deployed in different regions. Like we have over 30 regions in US, Canada, of course, Europe, Asia Pacific, and all over the world, because now heavy lifting is done from the cloud. So that's why we call it security cloud. Like so, this is Exium's security cloud. We built it in the data centers globally. So that is the core. All the security products are managed and delivered from there. But there are parts that goes to on the endpoints, like we put an agent on the endpoints. And then you will be hearing more and more at locations we put in our cyber gateway. So that is a software that also replaces firewall. So this is a modern workplace security. So we will be in this training, you will be learning about this first line. Secure internet access, secure private access is SASE. So there will be two products, SASE Essentials and SASE Pro, and then the modern workplace security delivered by the cyber gateway. Okay? So basically, this platform secures hybrid work. It doesn't matter where the users are coming from locations, or they are traveling. And on the right side, you have hybrid infrastructure. You have public cloud, you have data centers, and securing your SaaS and web. So now you see when I was saying SASE touches everything. So this is more like from the security infrastructure. Like that's what SASE is. In particular, Exium, we are consolidating the security infrastructure. Uh, So one of the things we are going to double click today is the modern workplace security. Yeah, we'll come back to SASE. So the economics of replacing the firewall. Like so, let's continue with that. Mike, you want to take over here?
Yes, thank you. This is the area that I think when we look at the marketplace as FK had depicted, the first iteration of SASE was really the consolidation for ZTNA, really for the device side, and think of it as that comprehensive protection and upgrading your VPNs. The next iteration of that is the modernization and the virtualization of the firewall. And as you can see from our architecture, we have the ability to really bring that firewall in software right to the customer prem. And because of that, we have an enormous economic advantage in terms of how we attack and can deploy in the firewall space. For those of you who don't know, the firewall itself in general is about 25% of the overall spend, security spend. So it's an enormous business. And obviously, the bigger players have built tremendous companies, in particular anchored around firewall. And their costs and their margins are very expensive. These have been historically very, very complex systems to deploy. So they were able to get a very, very large premium. And so one of the benefits of the architecture of SASE and integrating firewall is as simple as we simplify the whole deployment and the whole architecture of the system into one platform. You get economics that really give you a huge advantage. And so what you see here depicted is firewalls from some of our leading competitors, and this is a 3-year license. In general, firewalls are deployed with a 3-year license. And the cost to the MSP, as you can see, is around $15,000. It's interesting as we looked at all the entire firewall space, and this is for a mid-tier to upper mid-tier account. This might be maybe 250 to 500 person firm or 700 person firm. It's $15,000. All the pricing was all around the same. And that's just for the firewall. We map that to our cost and our architecture, and that includes a general purpose box and appliance and the gateway software. And that's really the modern workplace SKU. And that's where the cost comes out to be about 5x less than the competition, $3,400 over 3 years. That is disruptive. That's enormously disruptive. When we think about, the competition we all face when we're bidding on deals just for the device side, just for the ZTNA side of the fence, we're winning and losing deals by 10 or 20 or 30% with nuanced differences in how that technology is deployed by the competition. And we win a bunch of that business and we have terrific product there, but it's a very competitive market. When it comes to the firewall, there's no comparison. And we have a unique architecture and a distinct advantage of being able to do this over anyone else. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Why this is important, and FK touched on it, and how it expands the overall part of the business that the MSP can capture is, in general, when you look at, say, the $15,000 an MSP is getting for a 3-year license from a Fortinet or a SonicWall, you might mark that up by 30% margin or so at $20,000. So the end customer is getting that product for $20,000. The MSP is getting margin of about $5,000. And in our situation here, when you look at the $3,400, $3,400 that we're charging you, the MSP, you now have a huge opportunity to be flexible in terms of how you price that. So in one example, you might price that up to $10,000. So that would be about $7,000 of margin for you over 5,000. So about 35 or 40% more margin. But now you're reselling it for $10,000. You're half the price of the competition. That will get every end client's attention. You could even go further. You could charge $10,000 in margin and charge the enterprise $13,000, twice the margin you would get from a SonicWall or a Sophos or a WatchGuard, and you'd still be 60% less expensive than the competition. Those are enormous, enormous advantages. And what we've seen in the marketplace is that if you attack that firewall and you grab that business, the odds of you winning the device side of the business, the pure ZTNA business, exponentially goes up. And then the third piece of the leg is what FK talked about is other products, which we'll get into like GRC and XDR. You now also have the ability, because you've won the anchor with the firewall, you've won the device side of the fence, you now have the ability to upsell on the other products as well with high margin. And so the overall TAM, if you will, total available monetization from that enterprise has just doubled or tripled. You can take the whole piece of the business. And that's the beauty of a consolidated platform with this lead on the firewall with disproportionate price advantages. So we think this is a critical piece in our strategy, is to really make sure that you guys understand the economic flexibility you have, right? It's not just us that you're selling. Like you may be selling a data storage, you may be selling Wi-Fi access points. There's all different portfolios that you guys manage and have. But with that increased margin, you have flexibility with other pricing as well. So it may even improve your ability on larger bids that are more comprehensive, that have more parts in it, to really have other things that you can do and move around by increasing the margin just on this piece of the business. If you can move to the next slide, FK. So we didn't stop there. So then we wanted to make sure, because many of your customers, are smaller in size. So this is small to mid-size economics. And so you can see the price is about half. It goes down to about $5,000 up to about $9,000, and our corresponding cost is $2,400. So our cost goes down, and you're seeing in the lower end of the market, you're seeing a 2x to maybe 4x advantage, not the 3 to 5 that you see on the high end, but it's still dramatic. It correlates all the way down as well as it does up, but it gives you an enormous strategic advantage. If you go to the next slide. So people will say, well, what is, the ideal customer deployment? So for us, we just see an enormous amount of customers in the 50 to 200 size. We can go up. We have customers with thousands of users, but this is an example of what I call the ICP. This was a replacement of Fortinet. It was for a government contract in a defense area, and they were very concerned about compliance and uninterrupted operations. And it was about 80 employees in 6 different locations, and they also wanted to provide zero trust. And this was a textbook example of how our price was that further underneath Fortinet that we won the firewall business, and because of that, the client also awarded them the zero trust access for the remote workers as well. So this is just a profile of, you can see, in the main, in our discussions with MSPs, it seems that 50 to 200 seems to be a sweet spot. It can go lower and it certainly can go higher, but this is a sweet spot that's out there. And I think that when you think about your customers, it's easy enough to touch base if you have a database, or if you send out a note to all of your clients saying, are you guys within 12 months of renewing your contract for your firewalls? We have an offering that is, basically half the price, or something to that effect, just to get the dialogue going. And FK and I will be happy to get on any call with any of your customers and explain this, and give you guys a quote and a helping hand to articulate this story. But we think it's very, very compelling. Next slide. Um, the key piece here is it reinforces what I said earlier. You can see we have a wide platform, right? We have a lot of products. And so that just expands, your base. Once you get that anchor, you can upsell the other products. And again, the proof is in the pudding. You can see here that firewall is not there from, some of the major competitors. It's hard for them to do that from an architectural perspective. And so that's a competitive advantage, and that's going to be a long-standing moat. That's not going to change anytime soon. And the second thing I want to emphasize, we didn't talk about SD-WAN too much, but the quotes that I'm talking about here are just for firewalls, right? Included in that price, SD-WAN is included. So if the customer wanted SD-WAN, they'd have to go back to the competition and say, okay, how much is SD-WAN? And let's just say SD-WAN was another 5,000 on top of the 15,000. It just makes the difference between our price and their price that much different. Our analysis of how the competition prices the firewall and SD-WAN and all these other services is really like an a la carte menu. They keep on adding it up, so the cost really, really moves up. So we think we might be conservative by saying, we're 2x to 5x less expensive in this piece, because in our portfolio, everything's included for one charge. There is no upgrade. There is no limit on bandwidth. A lot of the customers that deploy firewall say, well, you can only get 100 meg, and if you want 200 meg, it's more, or 300 meg, it's more. It's unlimited bandwidth for us in this offering as well, which is an enormous competitive advantage. Next slide. And so you may say, okay, well, how is this possible, right? Why can you guys do it and nobody else can? And it's easy for me just to say the architecture, but it's the architecture against our competition as well. So if you're a Fortinet or Sonic Wall or any of the big guys, you've built an architecture around, it wasn't built around the cloud, and it certainly wasn't built around virtualization. And so you've got standard products, and you might be 100 or 200 or 300 or $500 million company that's doing business with boxes. And now to migrate that to software, your $500 million business might go to $200 million. And so that's a tough segue for your business model. And so many firms slowly get there, but they don't want to do that all of a sudden. They can't go to a direct architecture of software. And that's one of the advantages of our architecture. From the beginning, we took networking as important as security and brought the two systems together. Many of the folks on this wall here were security folks first and never really thought about networking. It was an afterthought, and some companies were networking companies but never really thought about security. We were equal. We were equal networking, equal and infrastructure throughout, and security. The second example is you go down, no, go back a little bit, is the Zscalers and Netscopes and Nikedos. They have much more limited, they'll say they have a cloud offering, but they may have, their data center in New York and a data center in California, and they'll host a whole rack of standardized firewalls in one location. But as limited flexibility, you've got to you could be anywhere in the world. You've got to get to those hosted sites. It has bandwidth issues. It has latency issues. There's a lot of limiting factors that go into that architecture. And then on the lower end, where we see PAD1 in total, they just integrate into the existing firewalls. There's no plan there for them to virtualize the firewall and modernize the firewall. And so we can really back up the fact that we are the only architecture that can deliver it in the manifestation that we're delivering it. Next slide. And this goes to the performance that I talked about is, we can put these what we're calling POPs anywhere in the world, right? We're not limited to New York and a big data center and California. We are cloud native. We are just riding on the hyperscalers or the data centers around the world. It is software. We can put a POP anywhere in the world in 1 day or less. We recently had a customer in Finland, and because of some of the protection rules that were in Finland, they had to make sure that the POP was in Finland, and the competition didn't have any POPs in Finland, and it was on a Monday, and on Tuesday we had a POP in Finland, and we were deploying and they were doing a POC within their country. So we met their requirements. So one, it's a compliance issue, but two, it's a performance issue because you're closer to the customer and you get a better performing architecture, lower latency, and higher speeds. So I'll close, next slide. I'll close and hand this back to FK is, I can't emphasize enough, I think going after that firewall, it's seldom, if you're a salesperson or a sales engineer, that you have a 2x, 3x, or 5x advantage in anything in this world. And companies that have that usually are the disruptors, and you see rapid expansion and growth, and you have a window to take advantage of that. So we think we have a couple-year advantage to go after that marketplace with disproportionate advantage, economic advantage in the marketplace, and a better performance. You're going to get better compliance, you're going to get better bandwidth, you're going to get lower latency, and more importantly, your customer is going to get better protection. And for you guys, I think you have the opportunity to make more money and certainly more margin. So I'll end there and turn it back to FK.
Yeah, thank you, Mike. So today we are going to cover 3 products. So these are the products: SASE Essentials, SASE Pro, and the Cyber Gateway. Cyber Gateway is the one that replaces firewall. So we are not going to talk about the other products that are first you learn to successfully sell SASE and firewall replacement, and then you can upsell the remaining products later. So SASE Essentials is a starting point. So it provides your DNS filter, your web filter, web security. It has zero trust built in. It also replaces VPN with zero trust network access, what we call secure private access. It not only covers your laptops or computers, but also mobile devices, iOS, Androids, iPads, built-in threat prevention, AI-powered, lot of premium threat intel sources. Every day we hear stories from MSPs. Yeah, thank you. One of our clients' user clicked on a malicious link and Exium blocked it, and they confirmed that was a malicious site, for example. That's due to the very powerful threat intel that is built into our platform. So this is SASE Essentials. When you need a cyber gateway, so cyber gateway is needed in 2 cases. One is if with SASE Essentials, you are doing secure private access, and then you need a cyber gateway on the destination side, wherever the internal applications are. You can do secure private access by integrating with an existing firewall with IPsec. We also support that. But if that's not the option, you need a cyber gateway. So that's a simpler single interface cyber gateway. So only case where you will need a cyber gateway with SASE Essentials is when you are doing this secure private access and VPN. If the customer doesn't have a need for that, they are just interested in the remaining security controls, then cyber gateway is not needed. With SASE Pro, the first thing is the modern workplace security, the firewall, the SD-WAN, IoT, OT security. But it also comes with more advanced SASE controls, like your clients authenticating using single sign-on, MFA. You have conditional access. There's a dedicated IP you get with SASE Pro. There's no separate charge for that. You also can go agentless zero trust network access. So many of the times you have maybe your clients have part-time employees or contractors, consultants, third parties, where you don't want to put an agent on the endpoint, or they don't want to put an agent because those are not your devices, like they are their devices. Then you can also enable agentless zero trust network access. So that's also part of SASE Pro. And then you can do geofencing, like the blocking countries and all that. Not only like you block .ru for Russia, it will block all the IPs because it has the IP level real-time data, which IP addresses belong to, for example, Russia. If you block Russia, it's going to block all that incoming and outgoing. You have a lot of granularity with those controls. So these are the three products. Like so, let's SASE Essentials. One of the thing is this is a user license. Like when a user get a license, a user can deploy on up to 5 devices. They can be computers, like 2 Windows, 1 Mac, 1 iOS, 1 Android. Like, and we cover Chromebooks and Linux and all those things as well. And you cannot mix SASE Essentials and SASE Pro for one client. You cannot say, oh, my client has 50 users. I want SASE Essentials for 30, but 20 SASE Pro. That's not supported. Like you either have to decide SASE Essentials for all 50, or you have to take SASE Pro for all users. But as a MSP, you can have your client A that can be on SASE Essentials and client B can be on SASE Pro. There's no issue with that. And SASE Pro, very similar, like it covers all the features of SASE Essentials, but it has advanced features. Like whenever you are doing a firewall replacement, you also need a SASE Pro user license. Like again, 5 devices supported and all that. So this is more for reference. You can see like there are links to detailed documents if you want to learn like what is, for example, geofencing, like which is part of SASE Pro. So you can review these materials offline. These slides will be available for you. Now let's look at a little bit to how you get started on the firewall replacement. The economics are staggering, like as you have seen. And the barriers are really, there are 2 barriers. One is people say, okay, my techs are not trained on, they are trained on Fortinet or Sonic Wall. So that's where we are here. Like just like we are doing the sales training, we also have the technical trainings for your teams. And the thing is, this is a lot easier than, for example, managing a firewall. And many times firewalls have been there for like 15 years. We have seen one customer had 500 rules. Even today, they did not know why they needed those 500 rules. They not only replaced firewalls, they only needed like 1/10 of the rules. Like it's kind of, it was a time to audit thing and clean up thing because those ports open, like somebody did port forwarding in 2013, that is still there. It's not needed. Like so, it's the opportunity for modernization. And the second part we see is, my firewall license is not expiring until 2027. Yeah, maybe that's also not the right customer. As Mike was saying, the question to ask is your firewall license expiring in 2025? So today, all those clients are a perfect fit for the replacement because you will see, okay, if you renew it, it's going to cost you $15,000, but now I can give you something in $10,000 and you double your margin in the process. And the cyber gateway in the modern world, it will not only replace firewall, it replaces your SD-WAN box, it replaces your router layer 3 switch. You just need Wi-Fi access points and layer 2 switches. Like cyber gateway takes care of everything. It has network segmentation for VLAN routing and all those things, SD-WAN, load balancing across multiple ISPs, and so on. So this is again for your reference, like when you need for a VPN replacement, when you are doing zero trust, you need a single interface gateway. Like, but when you are doing firewall replacement, now you are not replacing just firewall in offices. You replace firewalls in data centers, in the public cloud. In the public cloud, firewalls are very, very expensive. I think any of one of you try to use Azure cloud firewall, maybe just get it for one day, you will know the one day cost is the same as like 1 month of cyber gateway. So again, the economics not only replacing like the physical appliances, but also the cloud firewall, those economics are staggering. And how you deploy these. You say, okay, this is all software, but you still need something to deploy this software on, right? So if it is a virtual, you have a virtual machine which support all Hyper-V, VMware, Proxmox, and you can deploy it on any public cloud. Like you just need a virtual machine. You don't need anything else. And it can be any virtual machine. As Mike earlier was saying, our competitors' architectures do not lend into these type of deployment use cases where this software can be deployed on basically any compute platform. It doesn't matter it's a AMD 64 architecture or ARM. You see some of the boxes over here, these two, they are based on the ARM. They have a same quad core processor as your cell phone. That's why they can be so small. They're very, very efficient processors doing gigabits per second speeds and cost only $70, $100, right? And there's no fans, nothing. These are solid boxes. And if you want to go higher, you can do this 4 times 2.5 gigabits per second, this $200 box. And if you want to replace that $18,000 firewall, you just need $800 box. And it's all monthly. Like this is the only the upfront cost. In many cases, you can see it is so small. And when there's a virtual machine, even this cost is not there. And I think for most of the SMBs, the first line is enough. I mean, we rarely see customers. It's more in the big data centers or when 400 employees, they go with this bigger 1U. But otherwise, these other boxes are works for most of the SMB use cases. Yeah, if you haven't tried the Cyber Gateway yet, we are willing to ship you one of these free. I mean, either this $70 or $100. That's the only approval I got from Mike, right? But you can just apply to that email. Mike and I are on there. If you say, okay, I want to try this box, we will just ship you for free for you to try that. You can try one of the expensive boxes then, but you need to write very convincing email to Mike in that case. Okay, I think with this one, we now jump into the more coding and other things of the training in the last 10 minutes. So you have this as a reference. So all the sales kits are available. You saw the 3 products. Like, so what is your one pager? Many times your CEO or whoever the IT lead or CISO at your client, they just want a one pager. So these are the one pager. Like if you are replacing firewall, this is the one pager. Like you will get this is a modern workplace security and all the capabilities they are going to get. They'll see they are getting more than a firewall over here. So these one pages are there for you to review. I think I'm not going to go through those with all the features and everything. And we can look at one deployment example over here. Maybe I'll go to this document. So as we have seen earlier, you can, with the user license, you can deploy on any number of devices, basically. Like even we say we limit to 5 per user, we don't really limit it. I mean, in some cases, if you need to go more, we can support that as well. And Cyber Gateway license is per site. So now let's take an example. So this is a customer, they 150 employees, and they have 5 sites. So what type of license you need, right? So first is for the users, you need a SASE Essentials or Pro. You will decide between Essentials and Pro based on the features and all that, their use case. So we are going to go through the questions you can ask to your clients to discover what best fit their use case. Like once you know that, you know 150 users, user licenses. Then 5 sites, it doesn't matter. These are offices, data centers, or cloud locations. You need 5 Cyber Gateway licenses. Very, very simple. But at these 5 locations, they may have 675 devices. That includes servers or other computers that just stays at the location. They don't need an agent. They don't go remote. Or there can be voice over IP phones, printers, TVs, cameras, anything IoTs, all that is covered. There's no separate charge for that. Because as you've seen, modern workplace security is firewall, SD-WAN, and IoT OT security. If there's a customer with like OT infrastructure, they deploy the cyber gateway, everything is covered. There's no separate charge for that. Again, making it very simple. We get it. SASE is complex. Zero trust is just you are positioning yourself for the next decade, like for the future. And this in the beginning, things needs to be very, very simple. So we have made, we made the mistake starting with the more complex pricing and the product SKUs, like we had a separate secure internet access, private access, but all that now we have simplified. It is very simple. And then we have provided these questions over here you can ask. Like for the SASE Essentials and SASE Pro, you will start with something like describe your current network infrastructure. Like because SASE is more about network security. You ask about network infrastructure. Like you ask what VPN you are using, what firewall, what you are using for web security and cloud access. Like SASE not only, as you have seen, is providing you web security, firewall replacement, or VPN replacement, it also provides cloud access. Like if you're using, for example, Microsoft 365, Salesforce, as I said, with conditional access, if this is their use case, they want to secure Microsoft 365 tenant with the conditional access where they will get a dedicated IP, you can whitelist, then you know you need a SASE Pro license. Like so you can go through these questions and you can adapt. Like you don't need to just ask these 8 questions. You know like which question to ask to the client because you know best about your clients. But this gives you an idea like what type of questions you will be asking these discovery questions and why you should be asking those questions. Yeah, what is in it for you? And then for the firewall replacement, it is very similar, but now you are now double clicking on the firewall. You not only ask what you are using for your firewall, what is your current network infrastructure? You see you have offices, do you have a data center? You have internal resources in the cloud that you need to secure and all that. Like that will give you an idea and then ask them about their concerns because a lot of these for example VPNs we have seen a lot of the firewall providers they were providing these SSL VPNs like they have been the biggest security risk in the last year, so many breaches through that like and then you can say oh you still using SSL VPN. I mean a lot of our MSPs are now replacing all the SSL VPNs. They're going with the zero trust and the SASE and so on and the compliance and other things because you like the first requirement of PCI DSS compliance is do you have a firewall like you check mark those like so if they're not using a firewall why they need a firewall just for compliance and so on and then ask about the budget as you said when the license is expiring and how much budget there is maybe these are not the greatest times at this point everybody's trying to save money so maybe this is a good time, like to ask, yeah, your firewall is up for renewal in September. This is how much going to cost you, and this is how much savings you can get over here. And by the way, if you have any questions, please post those in Q&A, and we will respond to those at the end. And now the coding guidelines. This is no complex, like we already saw. So once you have decided like SASE, SASE Essential and SASE Pro, you just ask how many users you need to secure. And users include employees, contractors, and everything. They say 150 users is 150, and then you say it is a SASE Essentials or SASE Pro. Based on those questions, you decide. And then the B is how many sites you have. So the sites can be offices, data centers, how many cyber gateways you need, right? So basically there are only 5 things that matters over here. The SASE Essentials per user, how much monthly, and SASE Pro, how many user sites, and the cyber gateway cost is monthly per site. With these 5 things, very easy. Anybody can do this math to come up with how much it is going to cost. It's basically, yeah, the second part doesn't change. Like the cyber gateway price is the same, like the Z monthly per site times number of sites. Very simple. There's nothing else. And all premium support is included from Exium with all these SKUs. Like there's nothing like the basic SKUs and premium and so on. And the left part is really how many users you have. A times this is the essentials price and this is the pro price. So very simple to do this calculation. To help you, we also, I think there's this Excel sheet also. I think maybe was on different. This Excel sheet should be there, and you can just plug in numbers in there. Like, okay, 15 essential licenses, one cyber gateway, maybe more like a VPN replacement, and so this is $300 is the monthly cost. Yeah, you can change it. Maybe it's a bigger customer, 150. They need a pro. They're replacing 5 firewalls, and no, yeah, it's either essentials or pro. Like so, but yeah, over 3,000 per month. So very simple to get the pricing and so on. Okay, so with this one, we have completed today's session. Let me